speculate whether or not it's things that don't even make no sense. Whether you served in the armed forces or not, whether you have criminal convictions, you had a history of criminal activity, and they do all this stuff, your age, your race, and all that, and then they establish a score when you first come into the system. You know, it's probably like about 75 points, you know, and, you know, after your first year, you should be able to get 8 points knocked down to put you, you know, at like 67 points, and you're close to being under 61 points to receive a level 3 transfer. You know, if the points go down in 6 months increments, 6 months intervals, you know, so every 6 months you could get 2 points off for behavior, 2 points off for work performance. But at the end of the year, you could get 4 points off for behavior, 4 points off for successful programming. So you could get 8 points off in a year. But people get into 2 or 3 fights in a year. The points go up. You never could get them back down. You could never get them back down. And I've been in prison for 40-something years, and my points are still, you know, up over 100 and something, because I stand for what I stand for, and I don't compromise myself for nobody. You know, people talk about each other. People got their own views and opinions. You know, you got inmates in prison who talk, but they don't support it by nothing. It's just dope fiend talk. You know, people who just run off at the mouth. They run off at the mouth about things because of their personal views and opinions, but it's not never based on anything substantial. So these things are what's going down. Now, I'm going to show you something. They got inside the rule and regulations type of street gang / disruptive groups, you know, and they got Crips, Bloods, Northern Hispanics, Southern Hispanics.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
Bulldog street gangs, white supremacists, neo-Nazi skinheads, etc. Street gangs. They got DK Street gang. DK means not Crip or Blood. Then they got MC, Outlaw Motorcycle Club street gangs. OT, other street gangs, not listed. You know, so you don't have to be from a gang, but they try to make everything seem like it's about a gang, that you're a part of a gang. We're going to have to take a pause, and we'll be right back.
Okay.
Okay, we returned again, and we were talking about the type of street gangs that they have classified in these rules and regulations. And, you know, this is how everything is identified. They use these gang terms that on our cards, they use different colored cards that represent race. You know, blue cards, pink cards, yellow cards, green cards. You know, they write our names on the board with our IDs, our picture IDs and stuff. And this identifies the inmates as being of what race they are from, you know. And sometimes on those cards they write whether you're a Crip or Blood or whatever gang that they have categorized you as such. A lot of times they'll do it just because you hang around certain guys, you know. For example, if I lived in San Diego, if I lived out in a Blood neighborhood and I grew up in a Blood neighborhood and all the Bloods are out there, that almost makes me a Blood, just simply because the way CDCR has to categorize people, it's simpler for them to just put us in these categories of gangs and race, so that they can justify everything by calling it gang-related or race-related. And they don't like using race-related because, like a lot of the prison system today in California are ran by Hispanics, and a lot of the Hispanics represent their people, whether they're criminals or if they're on the law enforcement side. You know, there's no way to hide that. However, the point system is designed where they even tell you, favorable behavior credits. Last review, the categories below provide favorable points for 6-month intervals. For an annual reclassification review, 2 6-month periods may be counted. When the inmate status is interrupted during the period without the inmate fault, the period shall be considered continuous. So it just goes to show you, you could be in the right, and they know it's not your fault.
Right.
And they will continue the process as if it's normal and still take credits away from or add points on to you when you didn't do anything, the point system is such a farce because they leave it in place even though they came up with new regulations to say that an inmate only needs 12 months of clean period time to be considered for a behavioral override transferred to a level 3. Those are rewards. Those are benefits for people who are programming to get into a lower level institution. The greater his possibility and chances of getting a parole release date. The chances of getting a parole release date from the board of prison hearings are slim to none if you're in a level 4. And you have to be disciplinary free and to show them that you're conforming to societal ways, constantly being consistent in the work field, consistently in the education field, consistently doing something that is conducive and beneficial to good successive programming. But that right there is like being in a maze, every corner you turn, it could be some violence, and you don't have nothing to do with anything, and you could just easily get caught up, and because, the prison system is so short of staff, they do things to just keep things going. They don't detail reports to where it exonerates people who were in the right or people who didn't do anything. It doesn't do that, Everything is about who's the aggressor and who's the victim. Aggressors are to be punished, and victims are to be utilized as either snitches or, pampered like they're children, like they've been wrong, so we got to do something about them, It's a sad affair up in here because there's so many more details to explain the situation, but it really takes time to sit down and actually spell out exactly how prison officials use the system, use the regulations and the departmental policies to work both ways for themselves, for CDC, and how one side can work for the inmate, but the other side, the flip side, is against you. So the inmate is almost in a lose-lose situation while staff continues to benefit all the way around the board. You got officers who've lied on their reports, and have jumped in or started an incident with inmates, and then when it breaks out into like a little melee, officers claim injuries that they don't have just to get, they tell an inmate in a minute, give me some of this free time off. Give me some of this paid leave. Hit me. Hit me so I can just fall on the ground and say, you damn near killed me. You damn near killed me. Or, you almost killed me with that punch, I need a whole 2 weeks off pay, and they get paid for something that they started, something they created,
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
An inmate can hold his tray and add say, and the officer's pulling on it on the other side. Let the tray go. Let the tray go. And then when the inmate does let it go because of the force of the officer pulling it, the tray hits hits the ground and bounces off the foot of the officer, said, that's assault right there. Yeah, I'm gonna write you up. You hit me with that tray.
That's
and these are some of the acts of violence that they have recorded as being a general increase of violence in prison that really doesn't even exist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's crazy.
And it's added on to actual acts of violence that inmates do to each other. But the police is so manipulative that they create scenarios where even if a piece of corn just hit their uniform, they can say he threw a caustic substance out at me. And it's harmless stuff. But they act like, you hit me with some corn. Oh, I'm dying. I got to go to the medical and report this. Piece of corn. They're embellishers. They're exaggerators, and they do it because the money is so prevalent. They get paid to do all this drama.
Yeah, they used to.
This is where mismanagement.
Yeah, when I was working in probation in the facility, and I'm dealing with kids, and but if it was an incident that happened, they would say, the supervisors would say, make sure you write your report to when, but stay in compliance. So what that really meant was, like, regardless of what happened, you write the report and you put in whatever you need to put in, so you won't have no, kickback on it. But, so you're using the right terminology, you're using, everything. And I just, I didn't like what they were, I didn't have a lot of reports to write. But it was just, it's the same thing. I'm going to do this so I can win. But who's losing? The inmate is losing.
Right.
Because you're lying on them.
Yes.
And that's just the way, they have that set up. So you can't win. You're talking about the point system. You can't win. So in order to if you get 16 points, I'm just talking laying on those 16. And it takes 2 years to get rid of 8 of them. So it'd be 4 years to get rid of 16 points. That is so crazy to me. Anyway, it really is.
But it's designed to keep inmates trapped in the floors.
Yeah, of course.
They don't want inmates to program successfully to go to the lower levels, because if you're in a lower level, you're able to program successfully and increase the likelihood of getting a parole release date.
Yeah.
And if you start letting inmates out, then the prison system becomes devoid. It becomes empty. You have to start closing prisons. They don't want that. That's less money.
They don't want it. For real.
Corporations don't get to make. That's right. And then they say that this prison right here made the economy up in this location, and if you take the prison away, then we're left without an economy.
Right.
You find somewhere else to live.
Exactly.
But that's how.
Yeah. So we're getting ready to close this segment. It has been great. Clarence, you are a wealth of information. You have so much information about, and I mean, you have paid your dues up in there. But we thank you for joining this podcast with us. We are going to continue our conversations when we start again. If you have like 20 seconds to say your closing remarks.
Okay. Well, I thank you for being a good ear, good listener to everything that's going on, and I hope that what I do have to share, is enlightening to the point where it may even motivate you to take certain actions and create some form of change. And with that, I thank you.
All right. We'll see you next time.